Hey, what's happening, man? I'm gonna do things a little bit different today. I have a presentation on anthrobotics, biohacking, smart dust, and bioweapons. Um, I've talked about some of this shit before, but I wanted to consolidate it, and I also wanted to do a similar style video to the one that I did last. That one has a lot of documentation. You should also check it out. It has to do with EEG. Um, base technologies and all of the things that those can be used for that people are unaware of and think are science fiction. This is going to be similar. So let's get into it. So I went and looked up, very easy to do, went and looked up white papers um, on anthrobotics. Um, this is different from the information that I presented in the last um, video, whereas not all of this is talking about direct experimentation. Much of it is, a whole bunch of it is, but some of it, they're just papers that were published posing certain things. And in my opinion, there's not much of a difference. You can tell by reading these papers that they've done these things because of how precise they are, because of how the wording that they use, the terminology that they use very specific chemicals and components and measurements and all of that stuff. So I think they're just wording it in a way to, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, researchers have created tiny biological robots called anthrobots from adult human tracheal cells um, that can move across the surface and encourage the growth of neurons in a lab dish. Tracheal cells self-assemble into multicellular moving organoids, ranging in size from the width of a human hair to the point of a sharpened pencil. And so one of the things that made me think of is biopsies, strep tests, um, the nasal tests that are very, very invasive. Not only do those have the potential for taking things for testing and for harvesting more so, but also for implanting things. Look out for Charlie's talked about that. Lots of people have talked about the nanofibers that have been found on those tests. Um, so the things that are purported to be possible, and I want to remind you that I try to look at this from a lens of like what is saying that it is for can also be reversed. So the inverse, regeneration, general healing, and treatment of disease. And so, for the possibility of regeneration also indicates a possibility for degeneration. So, making something appear as someone is sick, you could potentially make cancer cells or diseased cells. Um, healing, that's pretty self-explanatory. Treatment of disease, same thing there. Um, and so, you can potentially fake an aneurysm, you can fake a heart attack, you can fake paralysis. There are all types of things that you can do when thinking about the size of these um, biobots. They're small enough to break the blood-brain barrier. Just keep that in mind. Small enough to break the blood-brain barrier. Um, this comes from around 1995. Early research credited to Michael Levin, PhD of Harvard, Vannevar Bush, sorry if I'm murdering that, Vannevar, Tufts University, and Josh Bongard, PhD, who made xenobots. And these were multicellular biological robots made from frog embryo cells, capable of navigating passageways, collecting material, quote unquote, recording information, healing themselves, and self-replicating for a few cycles on their own. So self-replicating for a few cycles on their own. no human interaction or help needed for them to self-replicate. And to go back over the things that they're capable of, navigating passageways, essentially, blood vessels, muscle tissue, skin cells, hair follicles, nasal passageways, the bronchial tubes of the lungs. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the implications of these things that it says that it's capable of. Collecting material. So this is basically like biopsying material or harvesting biological materials from a being. All this, is possible without your knowledge, without you knowing about it. I guess that's one thing that's important to say, because I think the automatic response is going to be, well, whatever, if it's helping me, but these are possible without your knowledge. So you got to take what it's saying it is possible to do with these things and think about all of the potentials, not just the positive things that are represented. Recording information. So that's remote monitoring. Healing themselves. So if you were to, for instance, there are a lot of companies and private companies and just people that are pushing or even selling specific, detoxes. And detoxes are good for the body, definitely. But one thing you want to keep in mind is there's a level of reinfection that's going on that's it's immaculate. It's constant. There's no potential to detox this because you're constantly being reinfected. Same thing as last video. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, but at the same time, I feel like it's necessary. It's necessary to get these things out and thought about, because the level of denial and let's not talk about that, it's uncomfortable, it's too much. These things are allowed to happen for decades quietly and then not quietly. As I said, the papers on this, as far as I can find, started in 1995. Same rule that I said before. If it's 1995, it's very likely it started in the 60s or 70s. It's basically, think about how long we've been doing microbiology stuff and think about the level to which we are not told things about the capabilities and studies that are done with said technology. Anyway, so already kind of went over self-replicating. That's fairly self-explanatory. Biobots can be created without any genetic modification and are capable of more than the Xenobots were. So the Xenobots already sounded pretty promising for all of the things that it was capable of doing. The problem with those were that our bodies would reject that because it was using the embryo cells of frogs. So this was just testing phases, I'm sure. That would be the only thing that would make any sense to me as far as why to test with frog embryo cells. But, again, all of the things that the Xenobots were capable of, that's a lot of capability. That's, modalization, meaning movement, being able to record biometric information, healing itself if something were to attack it, biops, taking information from the body essentially and collecting materials. So harvesting materials from the body and being able to analyze it. And so the fact that it says that they were capable of more, I'm going to get into what it means by that, but it's essentially kind of hinting at the beginning of biohacking. It mentions that it can sniff out disease or deliver drugs. That's a big one. A big one that you'll find if you read a lot of these articles and studies and papers, white papers. It talks about therapeutic usages and talks about the delivery and even the creation of drugs in the body. So you don't have to take a drug. It will biometrically sense that something is needed and provide it to you, which is horrifying. I would rather make the choice of if I want to have a specific medication or pharmaceutical released into my body at any point, Um, can repair or injure biological tissue and remove or stimulate plaque in blood vessels. And so again, that's essentially it can it can clog an artery. It can clog an artery, it can clog a blood vessel, because you have to take the inverse along with the purported capability. And these are autonomous, and they're also a lot of the experimentation that I've done into Anthrobots and biological robots has shown that they're using a fungal vehicle. Like it's a fungal vehicle that's being used in order to not only get this into the body but keep it in the body. It's very, very creepy, the level to which this will stay. Let's see. So I've done a little bit of research with my own microscope. I went to a lot of trouble trying to understand what was happening in personal situations. And I just want to show you pictures of some of the things that I was able to find from the specimens that I took. I'm not going to be able to tell you what you're looking at too much. But I definitely figured out a few things in this. I heard a few other researchers talk about how generally these fruiting bodies that they create, insect fruiting bodies, meaning, you know, essentially they've gotten better and better at creating structures, as scientists would refer to them, but essentially like fake bug bodies. And under a microscope, it definitely looks weird. It looks very weird. But one of the things that I've heard many of them say is they usually only create one eye because it's like a camera. It's not like real eyes where it needs two in order to function. It's like a camera. And so I thought it interesting that this structure that looks like a head, if you notice, it's kind of symmetrical, like many bugs, have an eye on one side and an eye on the other side. This did not. This only had an eye on one side. You can see there on the left. And it's a dome shape that very much resembles an eye. You can see a dark spot in the middle, but it also resembles a camera, and there is not another on the other side. You can also see the fiber-like wire structures that are on the inside. And if you look at the kind of well, for one, you can see them on the camera structure, but then also past that, you can see, in the kind of reflecting particles that are right beyond the eye. You kind of get an idea of how they come together to form a larger fruiting body. You can kind of see, the light reflecting off of singular particles. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I've got to figure out a better way to share pictures so that I can do better with this. So next one. Okay. So same thing here. You can see all of the same type of things. This is a different specimen. The reason why I put this in the file to show you is because you can see the red filaments that it creates. These things use graphene. They use graphene, and essentially, quote unquote, find each other and also self-replicate. So they find each other and join together and also self-replicate. and continue to grow until they create a fruiting body, aka a biobot. And so those filaments that you see, not only do those fulfill processes like sensors and power sources and things of that nature, mobility, meaning the ability to fly, the ability to I don't want to call it walk, but move. They have the ability to fly and the ability to move, but also the ability to light up. If you kind of pay attention to the darker filament that's toward the left side, you can kind of see the elements of blue. Usually the colors that you end up seeing are red, blue, clear, and black. Not sure what the specifics of that are. You know, I don't know. It's just you know, photosensory shit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that's about, but those are the only colors that I really ended up seeing. You'll see other colors, but it's just kind of a combination of two. Like that brown color that you see is more so than brown. It's a combination of the kind of black color, um, maybe some red, along with the clear. So it's not actually brown. It's giving the semblance of brown because of being mixed. It is brown, but you know what I'm saying. It's still using the same primary four colors that it uses every single time. Um, Another picture. I want to knock out all the pictures that I can so I can stick to the presentation. But I think it's important to see these things. Um, So the reason I chose this one, I got like 50 of these from experimentation. Or I have more than that, but the ones that came out well and kind of illustrated the shit that I ended up finding and looking at. I have video, but I think I'm kind of holding on to that for the potential of like a Patreon or something that's more helpful to the company and to the project. Anyway, that that I don't know how to describe it. It essentially worked like a mouth. If you were to see this thing move, the bottom part that looks like it's kind of like a jaw almost, it worked like a jaw. It clamped um and moved simultaneously, or not simultaneously. It moved on its own, spontaneously, but also with all of these, I started to do research into frequency and how frequency would affect them, because I started to notice at certain times and during certain situations that I would have more movement in the specimens. So I got a frequency generator and just kind of played around with it. And they are affected by frequency, but also light. Light also activates and kind of has effect on them, activates them, if you would. um let's see, I'll do one more picture and then I'll do some more in a minute. So here, I'll show you. I want to show you a so this is a full fruiting body, and I had a lot of trouble getting most that I shared this research with to believe or understand that this picture, when I zoomed in more, when I increased the you know when I increased the level of um man, I'm completely losing the word. When I zoomed in, when I when I zoomed in on the fruiting body, those things that I just showed a moment ago, that's this, right? That's this. And so like from obviously from afar, you see nothing. They call these no-see-ums now, which I had never heard of before I started dealing with them. Um, they call them no-see-ums. They say that they are prevalent in the South. They also say that they have them in England. They say they have them everywhere all of a sudden. And some people will say that they remember them, but I just kind of don't believe that. I've lived in the South for a good majority of my life, including when I was a kid, when things were not as strange as they are now. Never once did I hear sandfly or biting midge or no-see-um or any of those things. Only mosquitoes. We didn't have that stuff. So, kind of doesn't really matter to me what anyone says about it. We didn't have that. Lived on the beach, lived in Appalachian areas, lived in multiple states. Nowhere did I ever hear that ever. Not even under the pseudonyms. So I just wanted to show a few pictures of Anthrobots and their iterations and ways that they can create fruiting bodies and actually like bother you, not just inside the body, but outside of the body. So they're equipped with autonomous capabilities like biometric sensors, AI algorithms, and machine learning. So, AI as a concept is not necessarily a thing, actual artificial intelligence that just does everything by itself. But there are algorithms, there is deep learning and machine learning, biometric sensors. All these things work together to give the kind of illusion of being intelligence, autonomous intelligence. And it is autonomous intelligence to a degree, but not the level that people are afraid of. All that stuff about AI is about to take over right now. We don't have actual proof of that, but I don't doubt that there's not stuff that we don't know about. We know nothing about underground. We know nothing about what's above us, past the firmament, past the Van Allen belt. So I'm not saying I don't believe in possibility of actual AI. I'm just saying what is proven and what is known to be currently and admitted to is a good way to say it, I guess. Admitted to. Perception of environment, ability to make decisions and adapt to ongoing conditions without constant human intervention. And so, like I said, a lot of these are autonomous. Think about what programmable graphene means. Why do you think they say it like that? Programmable graphene. Because when I first started to hear that, I was like, okay, I know it's smart dust, but how are you programming it? You're using frequency to make it do shit. But that was a very, very ignorant perception of it because I hadn't looked into this as intensely. I had just done some experimentation on my own. There wasn't a lot that I could find, to be honest, because I wasn't looking at peer-reviewed studies or white papers or any of that stuff yet. I also didn't know the word Anthrobot yet. User-friendly interfaces, gesture recognition systems, that's fucked up, and natural language processing control systems. So this is starting to talk about transhumanism. This is starting to talk about transhumanism. It doesn't just mean that, though. It's again, it's both sides. If you choose to integrate this into your body, then you would have the capability to have vocal recognition systems, like basically vocal commands, like telling it to do things, heal my leg, open my calendar to this date, and then you see shit in your eyes, like but also it can be flipped, so it can spy on your conversations when you speak. It can register specific gestures, like if you wave hello to somebody, it turns on a camera swimming in your eye, or you know what I mean? Like there's too many there's too many possibilities for the capabilities with this. And so all the weaponized applications of this technology are being kind of like avoided and even omitted from articles and white papers. Everything that you end up seeing if you look this shit up is basically making it seem as though all of this is just good stuff. There are no potential negative applications for these things. no weaponized applications for these things. I'm sure that there are papers just like these that I went through that are for military eyes only, and private sector weapons companies and shit like that. Um, you have to read between the lines when you read this shit, pretty much always, because they're not going to tell you, oh, we can use this to read your mind anywhere you are, and if you think something negative, we paralyze you. They're not going to tell you shit like that. They're going to position it in a way that sounds beautiful, like, oh, we'll make children walk again. We'll make blind people able to see again. We're going to get rid of the need for cochlear implants for deaf people. Like, these are all things that they'll say in these papers, but you have to think about the inverse, think about the other possibilities of applications for what they're creating. A rapid biofabrication technique for self-assembled collagen-based multicellular heterogeneous 3D tissue constructs. So it's basically 3D printing synthetic tissue cells and spheroids. Like you can 3D print anything inside of the body. You can make structures, and not just like, I made a new piece of bone or something like that. You can, when they say spheroids, you have to understand how small that is. They can make cells. They can 3D print cells within the body. And so, those are the building blocks to everything in your body. So they can make synthetic versions of essentially whatever they want in your body. When it says tissue constructs, that means like whatever, bone tissue, skin tissue, ocular tissue, mouth tissue. It's all tissues. Your entire body is made of tissues. Hair follicles, whatever, because this has the potential to be able to move through pores. So, and the blood brain barrier. So brain tissue. And again, that sounds like it could be good if you weren't also aware of the nefariousness of the people that are saying that they're capable of doing these things. You have to always remember that as well. Motile, living biobots self-construct from adult human somatic progenitor seed cells. So Anthrobots are introduced, a spheroid-shaped multicellular biological robot or biobot platform with diameters ranging from 30 to 500 microns, and cilia-powered locomotive abilities. That's like little tiny hair follicles that are even smaller than these anthrobotic spheroid structures. So like little fake cells with cilia hairs that allow them to move around throughout your body and do shit. Each anthrobot begins as a single cell derived from the human lung and self-constructs into an multicellular motile biobot after being cultured in extracellular matrix for 2 weeks and transferred into a minimally viscous habitat. And so this is testing phases. That's not how this would potentially work inside your body. And even without that, the ways to introduce shit like this, the smaller the thing, the easier you can just walk up and like act like you trip and have someone breathe something in. Or there's dermal shit, not only topical, but like tattoos. You can put shit in tattoo ink. That is graphene, a lot of the time anyway. Which is why if I'm not mistaken, that's why graphene was the choice, for other shit, smart dust and all that stuff, because it's not the most terrible thing within the body. Not great. It's definitely not great, not good. But there are other things that your body rejects immediately. Tattoo ink is not one of those things. Especially if you get it in there. So I wanted to jump straight into the video, but I need to do this. If you find value in my research, if you, you know, like the work that I'm doing and would like to see me have better, production quality, more time to be able to work on these, the PayPal is in the description of the video. It's also in the description of the channel. Donations are really, really helpful, and they're needed for me to be able to do this at an increasing quality. I'm trying to do the best that I can. The more donations that I get to help, the more that I can put into this. Big surprise, I know that, but I am gonna do it no matter what. But I'd like to be able to do it better. There are many that do all the editing and stuff like that, and I definitely want to be able to do that too. But I am a dad, and I do have other things that I have to do. But if I were to be, getting enough in, which is not very much, I would be able to do this full time, all the time. So once again, the PayPal is in the description of the video. It's also in the description of the channel. Very much appreciated. If you would like to participate, in a study or give an interview, whether it be anonymous or, not anonymous, like in a video or even if it's not in a video, if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, if you just want to say what's up or say, hey, I like your shit, or hey, your shit sucks, the email is gammaauobsidian, gammaauobsidian at gmail.com. Same thing for the Instagram. Anyway, so early 2000s, and we're getting into smart dust. Now we're getting into smart dust. And just to make it clear, smart dust is not the same thing as anthrobotics. Anthrobotics are using biological tissues, biological samples to make biobots, biological robots. Smart dust and nanobots and nanotech and all that shit, fully synthetic. Fully synthetic. They both are used within the body and outside of the body. And they have other applications too. I'm not trying to make it seem like this is just designed to like murder us all. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's a slight difference. They can both be used within the body, but one uses biological tissues from the human body. So your body is very likely not going to reject it unless it does something. I mean, honestly, it's probably not going to reject it. Just, to be honest. Now, where you do see bodies start to reject it, and this is where Morgellons and things like that come from, is when you have early stage biobots and anthrobots, as well as smart dust. I think it's more smart dust from what I've been able to deduce, more so than the anthrobotics. Smart dust would be what many refer to as, programmable graphene. Some people call it black goo because of some of the iterations that it can show up as. There's some videos floating around of the slime, the magnetic slime that is attracted to one another if you separate it, and can do mazes and all kinds of stuff. It just depends on what you're looking at. Those aren't all the same thing, is my point. Even just on the smart dust, some of those things are just magnetic clumps of goo. Others are literal synthetic graphene slime that is, capable of solving puzzles and mazes and doing all kind, retrieving metal from inside of a fake brain in tests and all kinds of shit. So there's different, distinctions between a lot of these things. So there is smart dust, nanotech, and nanobots, and all of these things again are so small that you will not necessarily know what is happening if you even feel anything. This can swim across your eye, and you may feel it, but you won't necessarily see it unless it's like a clump, unless it's like a fruiting body or structure that's already been made. So self-replicating, self-assembling, self-orienting photonic crystals of porous silicone. Fuck. Micrometer-sized, one-dimensional photonic crystals of porous silicone that spontaneously assemble, orient, and sense their local environment, generated by electrochemically etching two discrete porous multi-layered um, dielectric mirrors into silicone one on top of the other. So like it's basically saying that it goes from it's one dimensional is literally like a dot, like not even a grain of sand, smaller than a grain of sand, much smaller, like even smaller than a nano grain of sand. This can come together to build a grain of sand, a nano grain of sand. So it starts off as one dimensional and then can build something that is either two dimensional or three dimensional. Do you see how small that is? Um, that's capable of many things. They can move toward specific targets, isolate and detect chemical or biological compounds, and report this info to the macroscopic world. So essentially, wireless. You know, it can report from your body to whatever, to whoever. Remote monitoring, medical diagnostics, and therapeutic applications are the things that this would kind of apply to. Medical diagnostics, that is remote monitoring. Um, when it says remote monitoring, I think it's kind of more pointing to like spy shit, like you know what's the temperature in your house? How many times have you taken a breath in the last minute? What's the light spectrum that you're using in your living room? How many lamps do you have turned on? Like these are all of those sensors that these smart dust nanoparticles can create. It's crazy. It's crazy how many things it can remotely monitor and report to an outside, you know, computer or source. Therapeutic applications almost kind of gets on my fucking nerves at this point because you know how the healthcare system is, right? You know how the healthcare system is. So do you think that this is being created for the goodness of mankind and to heal people solely, or do you think that that's going to be the face of it and then other shit is going to be the real use? Because in any of this, fiat currency is what is making this happen. It's what's making this happen. So sure, they'll be able to make people hear, see, jump higher, keep boners longer, maybe stay younger, all kinds of cool shit. But they're not going to give that to you unless you have money. How you're probably going to end up dealing with it and how many of us have already started to deal with it is intrusive. There's intrusive shit because this is falling from the fucking sky. This is falling from the fucking sky. Programmable graphene, bruh. Matter of fact, here, I forgot I have this picture. Let's look at some programmable graphene that I collected in my makeshift collection chair, right? Where is that fucker? Let's see. It won't let me keep these pictures in folders. There we go. So I collected this in a chair from rain. And what happened is it rained for a good day and a half and left a puddle in the chair. And I didn't want to I didn't want to remove the water because I wanted to keep it as natural as possible, meaning anything that came from the air after the rain or anything that was already in the chair, because no one sat in this chair. I specifically like kept it from being touched as much as possible. Um, I let it dry naturally. I didn't use any heat. I didn't use anything at all to dry it. I let it dry in the sun. That's the closest picture. Let me move back a little bit to show you what it looked like kind of to the eye. Right? And it's not just the shit in the middle. Look at all that surrounding it. All of that came from the rain. All of that came from the rain. It dried into this. And so, you know, all those videos of people setting the fucking snow on fire, trying to melt it and it just chars and smokes. I'm guessing this would be why. I've even done that. I'm trying to find the video, but that's from like 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or 2020, where started setting snow on fire and shit. But it shouldn't do that. And people say stuff about fucking butane and all that stuff getting collected into the water molecules, and that is dumb. And also, you know, it's not. Do that with ice. Do that with crushed ice, and then tell me if it sets on fire or turns black. You know, crush it up real fine, just like some snow, and then even pack it together, which is ice. You know what I mean? So that explanation is fucking dumb, and they made everyone feel stupid. And they were like, "Oh, it's just it's just the ice collecting the butane, and you're an idiot." And that's fucking stupid. You could just take ice and prove that to be not what is happening. Anyway, so where were we at? Okay. So this has 1, 2, and 3-dimensional capability. I kind of went over that, but think about that. How many times have you heard of something referred to as one-dimensional in a real sense? Not someone saying that someone's one-dimensional or some stupid shit like that, but how many structures have you heard of being one-dimensional? You always hear two-dimensional, right? Flat, flat. This is a one-dimensional capable technology that can make 2 and 3-dimensional nanoparticles. So like smaller than a nanoparticle in its original state. Silicone nanomembrane phototransistor flipped with multifunctional sensor towards smart digital dust. That is the name of a fucking white paper. Yeah, so I'll read it one more time. Silicone nanomembrane phototransistor flipped with multifunctional sensor towards smart digital dust. Sensing module that converts physical or chemical stimuli into electrical signals. So basically, like it's a sensor that converts physical or chemical like input into electrical signals. So it can be programmed to like say, you know, if it senses that you are stressed, then it releases more chemicals or electrical signals to make you more stressed, because the nervous system is essentially electrical, right? You know, similar thing where if it senses that you're running, it can send electrical signals to your legs to kind of shock your nerves or just your muscles, which could be a good or bad thing depending on the level of shock. And you know, I'm definitely not a doctor or a fucking professional in any of this stuff. I'm just trying to use my imagination, because you this is to a point where if you imagine an ability or a capability with this technology, it's very likely already been experimented with, you know. It's almost as if they've been reading science fiction authors and saying, let's try that. We can do that by doing this, 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 and this. And we can use this nanoparticle and this nanomembrane and create this. You know, it's really weird. Again, same thing as last video. This isn't all of the papers, you know. I just found the ones that seem to be very, very very helpful in demonstrating the level of creepiness that this goes to. Um, multi-detecting functions on a single chip. So it's saying like multiple types of sensors on a single chip. So on a single chip, you have multiple ways of detecting or sensing things. A combination of flip silicon nanomembrane transistors and stimuli responsive materials presents low power consumption or requirement. Low power consumption or requirement. So like it doesn't even take that much power. Phototransistors usually means like light, you know, light powered motors, light powered systems. Um, Stimuli responsive materials also kind of sounds like kinetic energy. Um, so you power it. You and light would be able to power some of these things. Demonstrates great functional expansibility of sensing targets like hydrogen concentration or relative humidity. Dude, what the fuck? Uh, Flexible transient phototransmitter transistors by use of water compatible transferred silicon nanomembranes. Flexible transient phototransistors. So phototransistors that can move and are flexible within the body by use of water compatible transferred silicon nanomembranes. And not just within the body, but I'm mainly focusing on that because it's almost like people don't give a fuck if they don't think they're going to be affected by something. All of this shit can be done in your body, is basically, you know, what everyone should be concerned about. A form of optoelectronic sensors that can be physically self-destroyed in a controllable manner. Let me read that again. A form of optoelectronic sensors that can be physically self-destroyed, self-destructed in a controllable manner. Dude, think about what is that? What show was that where all of his messages self-destructed? Was it it wasn't 007. Someone put that in the comments. I think there was a cartoon even. Inspector Gadget? Was it Inspector Gadget? I can't remember. But yeah, that's fucked up. So whatever, you know, this sounds like spy shit. If you really think about it, a lot of this sounds like not just spying on you shit, but like you can kill someone with this and then leave no evidence of anything having happened. I mean, for one, it's already nanotechnology. Let's just start there. It's already nanotechnology. But then you add the fact that that nanotechnology can self-destruct. It can self-destruct and leave very little to no evidence of ever having been there, right? That's fucked up. transient light transient light sensitive electronic systems capable of self-destruction for security reasons or issues. Security reasons. All right. Okay. both are both are light responsive and light activated. Oh yeah, I have a specimen that reminded me of. Let's take a look at him. I've used this as a thumbnail. So so there were certain times where something it's very hard to explain. This was acting in a very weird way, and I saw a light, and I said, you know what? That's fucking weird. So I killed it and then put it under the microscope. And it, for one, I didn't kill it. Obviously, look at it. It's not necessarily quote unquote killable, but it has a fucking halo. It has red Terminator eyes, and its ass is, I mean, enlightened. I don't know, but also has a light source. So there is a halo. It's, I guess, eye sensor, whatever you want to call that, is glowing red. Do you see that? and the end, the butt to the right there is basically exuding like a white light. You see all that? So, weird. Um, highly flexible hybrid CMOS inverter based on silicone nanomembrane. This is a nano 2D transistor semiconductor used for amplifying or switching electrical signals and power. So it's a 2D transistor. It's a 2D transistor made of silicone nanomembrane. So like, dude, these are things that I don't even know. I guess silicone is to make it flexible and stretchy. But even if they didn't use that, it's so small that you wouldn't really need that. You wouldn't really need that. But just the fact that it's a 2D transistor is fucking creepy. Materials, structures, and functions for flexible and stretchable biometric sensors. Oh, I did that right after. That's fine. Human to machine interfaces, robotic smart skins, healthcare monitoring, quote unquote, and bio-integrated devices. So, I mean, this is basically talking about biometric sensors that are flexible versus, I think one of the things that I kind of notice if you talk to people or if you look at people talking about biometric sensing technology or nanotechnology, because it's called technology, people seem to always think that it's like plastic or some sort of metal or something like that. But there are technologies that don't need any of that. Like it doesn't need to be metal to do technological shit. I don't know why people think that. There's many, many, many examples of technology that's silicone based and has all kinds of structures that, you know, utilize like fiber optics and all kinds of things that are very, very like, I don't want to say less invasive because that's still very invasive, but it's not fucking metal and it's not plastic, it's not clunky like that anymore. That's fucking 30, 40 years ago. I don't know where people's minds are at with technology, but everyone's watching these fucking movies with all this science fiction shit and they think that it's not possible. Maybe I guess that's why they make movies like that, like Altered Skin. A lot of this shit or no, Altered Sleeve, right? Isn't that the name of that? I like that show a lot. Is it Altered Sleeve? I can't fucking remember. It's a Netflix show. But it's right there. It's the next it's the next note. Altered Sleeve. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. Flexible and stretchable sensing electronics can efficiently capture high quality signals and synthetic responsibilities. Not responsibilities, response abilities. Capable of mimicking various human behavioral patterns. Basically, robots that can present like humans, transhumanist components. It's basically saying that like it can make a bunch of components that would actually resemble human parts instead of like when you think of a robot or an android, you think of like skin maybe, but like metal frame inside and it's all big and bulky or it's super heavy or whatever. Essentially, this is saying between all of the technologies that we have capable like right now, including biological 3D printing, anthrobotic biological 3D printing. That's why I included that earlier. Like you can just make a silicon based human body with this similar density within all its components. So the bones would maybe, if unless you wanted them to be metal, could be a lot like bone. the muscle tissue, muscle fibers could be a lot like muscle fibers. The optical nerves, like all of these things, there are counterparts within technology that can resemble or mimic these things. What am I saying? You can make fucking robots. You can make fucking robots, right? You can make robots. And you know, I'm not calling anyone robots. I definitely have run into people and interacted with people that were weird and strange. I don't fucking know who's a robot or an NPC or any of that shit that everyone's very quick to call each other right now. But I will admit that there are many that seem very strange, and there are many that seem to like glitch out sometimes that I have had personal interaction with. Um, so that's weird. But I'm not saying who is or who is not. And I don't generally like to like respond to that very much. So if you comment that, I gonna respond, but probably not with what you're hoping for. Anyway, altered sleeve. I don't know if that's the name of that show. It is altered carbon. It is altered carbon. Altered carbon viral videos and the company claiming to be fictional. So there's a company that used all of the same they used all the same terminology as altered carbon. And I kind of think that that was real in a way. Like I don't think that that's not real. When you start to look into all these like studies and white papers and you see how far back this shit started to get published, it's not to say that this is when they started to like actually experiment with it. 1995 is when you see the first papers. These are public papers. So just on the level of military, we're 20, 30, 40 years behind, maybe sometimes 50 years behind the military in technology. So, and there are people that have black and white pictures of pretty, sophisticated robotic systems that looked like androids, like back of the head opened up, face opened up. Um, I mean, they could make pretty not great robots, but they made pretty decent robots in the fucking 70s and 80s. And that was like as a gag. That wasn't even like some real shit. That was just like, look what I made, Short Circuit 2 with a vengeance or whatever. Um fuck. Plasmonic smart dust for probing local chemical reactions. So I mean, that's chemical reactions are in everything, dude. Like I don't that's pretty self-explanatory, I feel like. All optical probing technique based. Wait, what? Oh, it's an all I see. They weird this shit very strangely. All optical probing technique based on plasmonic smart dust for monitoring local chemical reactions. Excels in extreme light focusing, and can produce highly confined electromagnetic fields without the need for near field microscopes. Can produce highly confined electromagnetic fields without the need for near field microscopes. Just saying. Can report subtle environmental changes. So, not just environmental changes, but subtle changes, which, you know, a lot of the percentage levels on these tests, they're not 100%, but they're fairly high, from the high 60s to I think the best one was like 96% using multiple modalities, like using multiple systems in combination. um Smart dust sensor tech, uh sensors for sound, vibrate. Oh, I see why I said this one. Sensors for sound, vibration, temperature, light, magnetism, acceleration, position, stress, humidity, and chemical traces have been analyzed. So, like, think about it this way: all of those things being able to sense or detect for those things also implies there is an implication that you can also affect, change, or do those things. So I'll say them again: sound, vibration, temperature, light. I've seen all of those personally. Magnetism. I think I might have seen that one, but I'm not sure. Acceleration, position. That's just tracking. Stress, humidity, seen that one, and chemical traces. Don't know about that. Um, that's a lot. That's a lot of shit to be able to detect or sense and also manipulate or affect. Um, Smart dust nano rice for enhancement of endogenous Raman. I don't know how to say this. Raman or Raman signal, which is I'll explain. Contrast in photoacoustic imaging and T2 shortening in magnetic resonance imaging. So this is like MRIs, radiology, photoacoustic imaging, like it said. It enhances the capability to do imaging, like CT scans, MRIs, photoacoustic, I think is like kind of similar to MRI. Isn't that the one where you get in like a tube and it does those really loud noises and it fucking like uses the acoustics to like image? I think I think so. Um and I'm not sure about CT and PET scans. I think those might be like I don't know, imaging. Fuck. I'm not a doctor. Um Nanostructured porous silicon polymer based hybrids. Research into biometric composites and application biosensing lab on chip devices. That is just what it sounds like, lab on a chip. An entire lab, an entire lab's worth of capabilities on a chip, on one chip. Um, Drug delivery and tissue engineering. I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? You know? People, and I'm a little freaked out by that because more than one time I've heard people on podcasts that are within these fields. I've seen articles, they all talk about drug delivery. And I'm like, no one is disturbed or a little, you know, not getting like a bad vibe from the capability to deliver drugs to a body without being seen, or detected. Like you can give someone medication or pharmaceuticals or drugs without them knowing it or anyone else knowing it. Potentially even forensics, you know? That's not good. That's weird. Why the fuck do you need that? You don't need that. I mean, the only place I just don't see why you need that. Someone tell me why you would need to be able to do that. Why do you need the capability to deliver drugs in a nano modality? Why do you need to do that? I can't think of a reason why you would need to be able to do that. I I genuinely, someone please tell me why you would need to be able to do that. Pore morphology, meaning pore morphology. Photonic properties, compatibility, biodegradation, and surface chemistry. It's basically saying it can do a bunch of small shit and potentially with light. And I mean the biocompatibility thing is basically because of the silicon polymer shit. Um, Biodegradation sounds ominous. Um, Curvilinear electronics formed from using silicon membrane circuits and elastometric transfer elements is basically just saying like shit that can like go like technology that can curve like like your eyeball or the bridge of your nose or anything on your body. So a lot of the time technologies, people keep thinking this like it has to be like rigid and hard, because of circuits and circuit boards and motherboards and all of these things. But like they can create these things, with silicon and polymers and things that are capable. Like nanomembrane essentially means you could like make skin. You can make skin. It's just the average, like you're not going to see that in a sex doll because that's going to make that sex doll cost like $100 million, right? At least right now. I think that sooner or later, this is going to be like, prostitution stuff, like so that you don't get in trouble for people moving. I don't want to call it what it actually is, people moving. Um, it's going to get dark too. I'm not just talking about adults, because what are the laws and ethics behind if it's not actually a small person? If it's not actually a small person, and it's like, what was that movie that came out recently with the fucking goofy dancing? It was like Chucky, but with a AI robot. I can't remember the name of it. It was a blonde robot girl, but like, if someone were to use that in their brothel, is that illegal? It should be, but it's probably not because it's not actually a child. Like this is gonna get fucking dark, Just saying. Uh where was I at? Oh, I'll say it again. Curvilinear electronics formed using silicon membrane circuits and elastometric transfer elements. So, like significant experimental and theoretical advances over recently reported concepts for creating hemispherical photodetectors and electric eye cameras. Let me say that again. Significant experimental and theoretical advances over recently reported concepts for creating hemispherical photodetectors in electric eye cameras. And using principal silicon nano ribbons and membranes in flexible electronics and biotissues. So basically, you can make an eyeball. You could put a camera anywhere. You could put a camera on anyone anywhere, like anywhere on their body. Which I think was already implied with some of the other shit that I read, but like I'm showing how detailed they're being with this testing because it sounds like they're essentially building like a robot, like a android that you probably wouldn't be able to tell is an android most likely, especially if it was remote. See, people think that it would automatically be AI, but you could just like have a person drive it. Or AI is well past what everyone thinks it is, and they're just not showing that. Maybe they're making it look stupid so that no one thinks that AI is actually real or possible. Just saying the things that are possible. I haven't seen any iterations of AI that would lead me to believe that it's that intelligent or capable. But again, I think that it is a little stupid. Like it's a little too stupid, if you ask me. It's capable, very capable. ChatGPT can look up a lot of shit. But then again, for something that has access to so much, it is dumb. It is dumb. And it kind of makes me feel like it's intentionally more dumb or just intentionally dumb, period, maybe to give you hope, or not hope, but to keep you from being suspicious, to keep you from thinking, oh, this is dangerous, at least until, a thing. Um, nano ribbons and membranes. I mean, I already kind of explained it. This makes the curvilinear electronics, like especially using silicone. People get mad when I say silicone. That changes that entirely because curvilinear electronics, like Do I have anything here like that? Well, no, not really. Um, like think about this is such a bad example. When they put detectors on the body, like for electrolysis or something like that, and it's rather than being like just a flat thing, it's able to like it's like a bandage. It's able to contort to the body. Think about that. I don't know. That's not a good example, but you know what the fuck I'm saying. Um, Smart dust biosensors powered by biomolecular motors. So basically, microbial biosensors. Um, I don't think I need to explain that one, do I? High accuracy user identification using EEG biometrics. High accuracy user identification using EEG biometrics. What does that mean? You know what I mean? What's that mean? Um, you gotta look read between the lines. User identification. So if like I was saying earlier, you can get these things into people without them knowing about it. If you're the user but you're not, you don't know you're the user, who would be identifying you with your EEG biometrics? And what would that be used for? Like if you've been identified and authenticated as being you, then don't you have like a very specific signature, right? And then with that signature, couldn't you do like specific stuff to just that one person? You know what I mean? Using deep learning models such as ResNet, Inception, and EEGNet to realize EEG based biometrics on the BED dataset, which contains EEG recordings from 21 individuals. So 21 people. Um, this had an 86.74% accuracy rate using EEGNet specifically. 86.74%. That's not bad, That's 14%, that's pretty good. And I mean, I don't think they really give a fuck if they on the 14% of times where it's like, that wasn't him. I don't think they give a fuck because no one's really gonna know what happened in that situation. They're just gonna be like, he had a heart attack. I don't know what the fuck happened. Programmable neural processing on a smart dust for brain computer interfaces. I'll say that again. Programmable neural processing on a smart dust for brain computer interfaces. BCIs, brain computer interfaces, aim to use spike sorting to identify the source of each neural firing, and that's a wireless transmission. So, like, basically saying, um, using the spikes in like it can sense your neurons firing. So each one of those would be used to identify the source of each neural firing, and that would be then transmitted wirelessly, because you're now on like a fucking bio network. Like I'm sure right now they're calling it Internet of Things, IoT. That's all this smart shit. Your TV, the phone, some of you have Alexas and all that shit. The Google Home thing. There's all kinds of names for different phones that have the voice detecting shit. Smart refrigerators, smart fucking meters on the outside of the house, smart thermostat, smart microwave, smart stove, smart lights. Like people have basically smart anything, and they've started calling that Internet of Things. It is my thought that soon, and probably already, there will be a biological Internet of Things, a bio Internet of Things. And it will be potentially like, all of the shit that I've just been describing to you will be able to not only happen but be transmitted wirelessly. You already have, wireless internet in your house. So why wouldn't this be able to integrate into that? You know? Uh All right. So last thing I want to talk about is Lookout for Charlie. Lookout for Charlie has talked about many times about how a lot of this shit works via frequency, and I've got videos talking about HARP and how HARP is utilized within these technologies. I talked about it in the last video. Um, I've also talked about in other videos how these anthrobotics and programmable graphenes and all of these things, they are being piggybacked on fungus. They are being uh, put into food, water, uh, medications, preventative pokes, a lot of things. And I've said many times before that we're all being poisoned in like 10 different ways, I would think, at least 24 hours a day. And not all of those are happening literally the whole day, 24 hours. What I'm saying is we're being poisoned in some way or in some ways um, at all times, Um, for instance, here, we all have seen, let's see, it's very annoying how this, you're not going to let me find it. Well, I have more actually that I wanted to show anyway from the microscope. So this guy, um, this was more painful. Uh, I mean, if you look to the left, you can see what was kind of being used to feel like scratching. Um, I don't really know how to describe the sensation, but it doesn't feel like scratching. It doesn't feel like biting. It feels like scratching, and you can see again black filaments. That's the most of it. The clear filaments, which kind of seem like collection stuff, toward the left there, but you can also see the red and blue filaments at the top, right? You see those? I was actually going to show you a picture of chemtrails, but you've seen that. I'm not going to fucking show you pictures of chemtrails. Um, this is not going to give you the same effect. It's a video, but again, I'm saving that for something. If you to the right of the play button, you can see something that I caught moving when I played a specific frequency, but it's super tiny, very, 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 very tiny. All of the other structures that I've shown you were fruiting bodies, and technically, this would also be a fruiting body, but it's so tiny that it just looks like a multicellular organism. It doesn't look like an actual bug or anything like that. You can kind of see the membrane that's protecting it, but inside of that looks very creepy. And it's creepier when you see the video of it kind of like moving. Um, let's see. Another example of an actual fruiting body. This one also resembled like an insect. It's on its back, if you want to call it that. But it has like a proboscis type thing. Um, I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to do, but it moves or moved. And again, all of the specimens moved according to frequency. They were autonomous, so they could move randomly on their own, but frequency definitely affected them, as well as light. Light also affected them. A lack of light severely brought down the movement and like motility, but not completely. So, I mean, I guess it stores energy or something. I don't fucking know. What else we got? I don't think I have too many more. Close up of this guy. Horrifying. No discernible eyes, but again, they, sensors, dude. It doesn't really need an eye unless it's using that eye to record. You see what I'm saying? Like it doesn't need an eye to see. The one that I showed that had that like eyeball thing, and the reason I think the reason that that was so big is because it is a camera. That is an actual camera. I know that that sounds nuts. It shouldn't sound nuts after me reading those fucking those fucking officially like published on government and medical journal websites. You know, I get it. That's why I'm doing it this way now because I've talked about all of this shit before, but I got straight to the point on this one, and I wanted to also show documentation that I'm not like making up the technologies that I talk about. The shit's real. We just need to like get past the horror of the applications of these things and the implications of those applications, and we need to like pay more attention at the very least because this shit is dumping from the sky. It's being put into things that people are being pressured into putting into their bodies. It's being, hey, we'll give you a free fucking Chick-fil-A sandwich if you come get this thing put in you. Like there's real shit happening that is not fucking cool, and everyone's just kind of like, that's not real, and then going about their day, Meanwhile, everyone, I think, for the most part, at this point, is kind of noticing that, the vehicles that fly in the sky are leaving behind a lot more shit than they used to. Used to be you would look up, and if you saw something coming out the back of one of those vehicles, you would think it was going to write something, or that it was like, July 4th or some shit. Now you don't really see too many of them that don't leave, that don't dump shit out of the back of them. This is what is possible when enough of that shit collects. And it doesn't take much. And then think about how much of that is just drying and then being blown around by the wind. Literally, it rains here and is a little bit cold. The next day after it rains, it warms up a lot. There are very few clouds and it's baking it, and then the wind blows. A good 3-4 times now that has happened in that succession. Just saying, is weird. Is that all I got of pictures? One more. Let's look at this. So this shit was very interesting because not only did it respond to like frequency, but it like kept building shit. Like it kept the I mean all of it is Anthrobot, but like if you notice the more clear shit, that was like, I don't know how to explain it. That was moving in a very specifically different way than the rest of it. Here, maybe I think I have a better. That one was kind of grainy. This one, they all look the same. It's because it's so close up. Anyway, that's what I got. I think I'm gonna do the next one about specifically about Morgellons because that has to do with a lot of the shit that I just talked about, but there's very specific technology that is causing these things. And I want to show everyone that it's not just certain people that are dealing with this shit. There's this whole thing about targeted individuals. And I'll say this, there are targeted individuals, but not as many as people think there are. People think that if they hear something or they feel something, that they're very likely, being targeted specifically. When the reality is, we're all being affected by a lot, like by most of this shit, and just some are, dumber than others, and either don't feel they don't think that the thing that they felt like moving on them is a thing, or they think that they just randomly have these patches of dry skin on them for no reason that seem to come along when they hear a specific high pitch ringing. Like all these, some people just don't think deeply into their experience. And sometimes I, envy them a little bit, but not really. I can't imagine being that fucking oblivious. But Morgellons is a very specific thing that it took a long while of them ostracizing those people and telling them that they are crazy and putting them on medications and making them lose jobs and families and all kinds of shit by not even admitting that something was going on. They wouldn't even admit that something was going on. And that's still kind of going on at this point. Depending on what you say, you can go to the doctor and be like, hey, I don't know what this is that's going on. And they won't help. They will not help. You can go to virology people, you can go to parasitic specialists, and you won't get very much help. So I'm trying my best to shed some light on a lot of these things, because I don't really see many people doing it. And if I do see them doing it, while I was researching this video, I came across a dude's video that was an okay video. It was a cool video about I think he called it neurodust or something like that. He's basically talking about smart dust that is possible to go into the brain. But the way that he positioned it made it sound like it's science fiction and that they're far away from it. And that's just not true. I don't know how he did his research, but this is old shit. All these documents are old, from like 1995, 2001, 2009, 2014, 2016. This is all old shit. 2016 is almost fucking 10 years ago, and that's in technology time. So all of these papers are old. They're very likely much farther along than anything I just read to you, or anything I just tried to like come off the top of the dome and like maybe this is possible, maybe this is possible. I'm just trying to get everyone to think along these lines and understand how far along this shit has gone and the implications of that. And it can be frustrating at times because not many want to even watch the whole video. If I choose to like kind of give myself an intro, 8 minutes. I realized that my last video had like roughly an 8-minute intro, and then I got into it. Even that was too long. So I decided to just get into it as quickly as possible. I still had a little bit of an intro, but hopefully, it was shorter. And then, do my plug stuff in the middle. But even that, it's weird because I'm not a comedy podcast. I'm not doing like entertainment news. Like, this is very real shit that affects all of us. And so many are not, there's very few that are sharing this with people that they care about. I don't get a lot of donations. And the thing is, like, I used to say I don't give a fuck about money, but now that I'm trying to like redirection this in a even more meaningful direction. And like, it's very strange, but in a way it's not, because algorithm is controlled by the powers that be. All of this shit is controlled by the powers that be. But I do still have hope that I can make a difference and that I can help us. And I'm hoping that others will also do the same in not just metaphysical ways, because I see so many people only talking about like consciousness and alchemy and all that stuff. And I love those things. But like, while we're all fucking meditating, we're being like attacked. you know? And I just think that that's significant. And I think that if more were to pay attention to some of these things too, then maybe you would be able to see more benefit from meditation. If you didn't have, hundreds of different fucking blankets of electromagnetic frequency and extremely low frequency and microwaves and all this shit, you know, just slapping you in the face with its dick while you're trying to meditate, you would probably see more benefit from it. And, all this other stuff too. I don't know, man. I'm rambling at this point. I did it. I did it. We did it. If you would like to donate to the research and want to see me have more production value with my documentation rather than me using my son's Black and Decker fake bench as a desk, I would show you, but I'm not going to show you my house. Yeah, if you would like to see me improve in production value and be able to spend more time on these and be more structured, then shoot a donation, man. It really does help, and it will give me the capability to focus on this more full time. Also, the email, if you want to reach out, is gammaauobsidian, gammaauobsidian at gmail.com. If you have suggestions or if you want to participate in a study or give an interview, whether it's anonymous or not, reach out, man, and comment if you have a question or if you have come across any of this shit. It's all there. I don't really like to talk about it very much because then people like to try to make you seem crazy or whatever. But like I said, those samples, those specimen are from under my own microscope. I took pictures of those myself. I collected those graphene samples myself in a fucking chair on my back deck. These are not science fiction. They're not fiction. This is real stuff. Everyone stop, putting your head in the sand. Stop, burying your head in the sand. These are important things, and everyone tends to pay attention after the fact. So I'm just trying to get more to pay attention with me. All right, y'all. Later. Bye.